You are listening to This Week in Taiwan. I'm Eloise Phillips. Every Saturday, we break down the biggest stories making headlines across the country, from politics and economics to culture and the unexpected. Whether you're tuning in from Taipei or halfway around the world, we've got you covered with what you need to know to stay in the loop. A bipartisan delegation from the United States visited Taiwan to pressure lawmakers over the stalled special defense budget. Led by U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations ranking member Jean Shaheen and committee member John Curtis, the delegation will speak with President Lai Ching-te and KMT legislators, hoping to accelerate progress on Taiwan's special defense budget. In addition to Shaheen and Curtis, the delegation includes Democratic Committee on Foreign Relations member Jackie Rosen and Republican Senator Tom Tillis. The group visited Lai on Monday morning in the presidential office, where members spoke in support of the budget and strengthening defense overall. Shaheen said that the United States is concerned about mounting pressure from Beijing, including military activity around Taiwan. She said that peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait are crucial for global economic development, and that the United States recognizes the steps Taiwan has already taken to strengthen its defense resilience. Curtis spoke directly on the budget, personally endorsing the bill and warning legislators that his American colleagues were closely watching its progress. Curtis said,
"I'd like to personally endorse the special defense budget and tell you back in Washington, D.C., that my colleagues are watching, that this is important. We want to make sure that as we invest in this part of the world, that you are also investing and that we're in this together."
His speech was supported by Tillis, who reiterated that, quote, "defense and your peace can only come through strength," end quote. During the meeting, President Lai noted that the 1.25 trillion Taiwanese dollars, nearly $40 billion US, was currently under review, adding his voice to that of the delegation in calling on legislators to pass the budget. Last week, legislators debated the bill, with less expensive alternatives proposed by the KMT and TPP without reaching a consensus. Now the proposals head back into cross-party negotiations. The budget delay is already causing problems, notably Taiwan missing the initial payment deadline for a weapons deal with the United States, which came and went this Monday, resulting in the first ever deferred payment. Defense officials, however, say that the pressure is likely to mount, with more payment deadlines approaching, and the funds necessary to afford them tied up in the special defense budget. The delegation remained in Taiwan for just 2 days, according to the Foreign Ministry, and also met with Vice President Xiao Meijin and Foreign Minister Lin Jialong. The United States issued a payment deferral on Taiwan's purchase of 82 HIMARS rocket systems on the initial payment deadline of Monday, March 30th. This is the first time the US has issued such a deferral and gives Taiwan more time to resolve the legislative impasse over the 1.25 trillion Taiwanese dollars, about $40 billion US special defense budget, which was originally meant to facilitate payment for the rocket systems. Speaking to legislators on Monday, Defense Ministry's Strategic Planning Department Director Huang Wenchi said the US has postponed payment until it finishes negotiations with the contract supplier, Lockheed Martin, currently estimated to be by the end of May. The US has no precedent for allowing initial payment delays, but after several rounds of discussion over the weekend, the Defense Ministry, the US Defense Security Cooperation Agency, DSCA, and the American Institute in Taiwan reached a consensus. Huang says the DSCA will use emergency procedures to temporarily fund necessary expenses for the contract negotiation. However, after the contract is signed, Taiwan will be expected to pay all related costs. He said,
5 days after the contract is signed, we still need to pay the necessary post-contract payments. Therefore, we are continuing to strive for the project to be approved within the deadline and to obtain the budget.
HIMARS aren't the only systems likely to be affected. Defense Minister Wellington Koo noted that 4 other items, such as a Javelin missile procurement, all have initial payment deadlines soon. If the special defense budget and subsequent regulations are not passed in time, Taiwan is likely to have to seek leniency from the United States again. The meeting between KMT Chairperson Cheng Li-wun and Chinese President Xi Jinping is slated to take place April 7th. A number of Taiwan's top officials spoke on the matter this Tuesday. Premier Zhou Rongtai said that visiting China under the banner of the One China Principle and 1992 Consensus is bound to be unfavourable to Taiwan. He emphasised that any engagement with the other side must comply with the Cross-Strait Act. The Premier also pointed out that the meeting date, which was agreed upon by both the KMT and CCP, happens to coincide with Taiwan's Freedom of Speech Day. He noted ironically that the visit is to a country without freedom of speech. Cho said,
Surveys have shown that the majority of Taiwanese do not agree that the so-called 1992 consensus is indeed a consensus, nor do the people of the world adhere to the One China Principle. Should this visit validate these ideas, then negotiations naturally will not favor Taiwan.
For his part, Defence Minister Wellington Koo warned against becoming a weak link in collective deterrence. He reiterated in an interview on Tuesday that the ministry's core position is to strengthen self-defence capabilities and to prepare for war in order to prevent war, pursuing peace through strength. Mainland Affairs Council or MAC Minister Chiu Chui-cheng indicated that the CCP continues to increase its hostility toward Taiwan and is using varied means to increase pressure. He urged the KMT delegation visiting China to safeguard the country's sovereignty and dignity and protect Taiwan's democratic values. He stressed that no group may engage in political agreements or matters involving public authority with the other side without government authorization. The MAC stated Monday that, given the sensitivity of the matter, they will be closely monitoring developments. They urged Cheng not to accommodate the CCP's political agenda and to avoid embracing United Front tactics. Vermont State unanimously passed a resolution in support of establishing a trade office in Taiwan on Tuesday, marking both the United States' 250th anniversary and 30 years of Taiwan's direct presidential election. Just last year, Taiwan became Vermont's second largest trading partner, with both sides hoping to deepen economic and trade ties. The resolution additionally supports signing a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, on economic and educational cooperation, coinciding with the 27th anniversary of the Vermont-Taiwan sister-state relationship in 2026. Taiwan has expressed its willingness to sign the two MOUs and reaffirmed the reciprocal driver license agreement originally penned in 2020. The document specifically recommends establishing a Vermont trade office in Taiwan to deepen long-term trade relationships. It also reaffirms that U.S. policy toward Taiwan is based on the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act and supports Taiwan's meaningful participation in international organizations such as the WHO and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Taipei Economic and Cultural Office Director General Charles Liao witnessed the passage of the resolution. In 2025, trade relations between Taiwan and the United States, as well as between Taiwan and Vermont, reached historic highs as the second largest trading partner of Vermont and the fourth largest of the United States. Taiwan's decision not to attend this year's World Trade Organization, or WTO, Ministerial Conference has no direct impact on its interests, Foreign Minister Lin Jialong said Wednesday during questioning at the legislature. The WTO, the most important international economic and trade organization that Taiwan has joined, holds its ministerial conference, its top decision-making body, every 2 years. Cameroon, host of the 14th Conference, or MC14, first denigrated Taiwan in its visa nationality field by erroneously designating Taiwan as, quote, Taiwan, province of China, end quote. After Taiwan offered flexible solutions, Cameroon's non-compliance prompted the government to boycott. Lin said one key reason for the absence was to prevent such diminishment from becoming precedent, while confirming non-attendance wouldn't harm Taiwan's interests. He added that the negotiations ensure it is, quote, unlikely to become a precedent for the future, end quote, instead compelling future host applicants to affirm to the WTO Secretariat that Taiwan is treated equally. Despite skipping MC14, relevant ministries actively monitored proceedings. The Foreign Ministry, a firm multilateralism supporter, will continue to uphold the WTO-centered, rules-based global trade order with members. The Defense Ministry announced on Thursday that the computer-simulated segment of the upcoming Han Kuang military drills will be held between April 11th and 24th. This marks the second year running that the war game portion of the exercise will last for 2 weeks. The war games will utilize the United States-supplied Joint Theater-Level Simulation, or JTLS, system. Defense Ministry's Joint Operations Planning Division Director, Major General Dong Ji-xing, said during a press conference that the computerized war games aim to train leadership, decision-making, and planning capabilities of military personnel. He said exercise scenarios are based on real-world threats, such as PLA grey zone harassment, enemy forces pivoting from drills to military action, and the open use of force against Taiwan. The scenarios will further include experiences from international conflicts like US military actions against Venezuela and Iran, Dong said.
This includes early warning and timely response to threats, as well as the importance of joint intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, countering electromagnetic interference and drones, defending critical military and power infrastructure, and joint air defense and counter-assault operations.
Past Han Kuang drills have drawn criticism for not placing enough focus on drone and anti-drone operations, so the ministry plans to prioritize those elements this year. Dong said that other new weapons, like the recently procured M1 Abrams tanks, will also be included in this year's exercise plans. However, the ministry has not yet announced the dates of the live fire portion of this year's Han Kuang exercise. And that is it for this week in Taiwan. My name is Eloise Phillips. If you want to know more about what's going on in Taiwan, visit our website at rti.org.tw/en. Until next time.